coffee, so I'm good
Okay.
there.
Good. You made me a cup. I appreciate that.
Oh, we're good, man. You
Yeah.
just go ahead. You just say when, and we'll go.
Okay. We'll go right now. We'll say when now. Hey, everybody. What's up? This is Frankie Slauson, and welcome to another great edition of the Frankie Slauson Show interview series. I know it's been a while. It's been probably, since May of this year, since the last interview I did. But I've been kind of taking a little bit of a break and doing other things. And life has happened, and a lot of things have happened since then. And when I wanted to do more interviews at the time, I didn't want to like overdo it because as some of you know, so I tend to overdo it sometimes when I get too many people, and then it's like then at the end of the day, it's like, but it's a good feeling no matter what, and I'm really happy that this one's going to work out today because it's kind of special because of something that's going to happen the next day as we record this. It's October 21st, but tomorrow, or maybe even as the strike of midnight, I don't know how that works as far as release things anymore. But your band of
Yep.
Mr. Gregory Martin here, his band,
Hello.
the Kentucky Headhunters, it will be releasing a brand new album called "That's a Fact, Jack," and it'll be available as of tomorrow.
There
And
it
if
is.
you're lucky enough, like me, I was able to kind of hear it early, but that's just because we get perks sometimes.
Well, so you've actually heard the entire album.
Yes, I did. I listened to the day that you sent it to me. I hooked it up on my Bluetooth because
Oh,
I got a
good, good,
surround
good.
sound.
That's
I got
right.
subs and everything, and I had to listen to it the correct way. You know, like there's a concert going on.
Well, that's
Because
the beautiful thing now.
yeah,
Sean, Frankie,
whatever you want to call me, just don't
I'll say
call
Sean,
me shithead. That's all.
I won't do that. I won't do that. Well, Sean, the beautiful thing is now is when somebody contacts us, they go, "Hey, we'd love a copy of your new album." Uh, back when we started, or I mean, if you go back to 1989 when Picking on Nashville was released, CDs were a new platform, so to speak. And of course, albums were happening too back then, albums, cassettes. And of course, albums went away for a minute. Now they're back. But now when somebody calls about an interview, you can say, well, I got the files. And most generally, everybody's really cool with getting the files and listening, So
Sure.
that's a good thing. This is the only, I just got the copy of the album yesterday. And I've got this one copy. That's all I've got. And it's
Richard was telling me a little bit about that there's some boat issues or something going on or he was
there's
worried about it anyway. Something
there's
going on.
something, man. There's something going on. It's crazy, um, Sean. It's nuts right now because I've been trying to call a CD manufacturing company in Cincinnati for 2 days. QCA, Queen City. I think I only know what the A stands for. That's terrible. But anyway, I did a project years ago with the singer from Wet Willie, Jimmy Hall, and we had a project called the Mighty Jeremiahs, and that thing has been like this cult CD. It was on a label out of Louisville called Ear Ecstasy Records, and then they folded, and it fell back into my lap. And every so often, I have to get copies printed up, but I never really heard anything. Nobody really had ordered anything for a while. And about this week, I had about 5 copies left, and somebody ordered 3. And now I went, oh, I got to get some more printed up, which I should have done. Should have done that months ago.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
just don't operate that way.
yeah.
But I can't get this company to call back or email, and I have a feeling they're like probably bogged down with orders. And yeah, it just no matter where you do. If you go to White Castle on Sunday night, which I do, they closed early one night because there wasn't enough help. So it's just
Sure.
crazy times, crazy
Yeah.
time.
Seems like
But we
that's kind of
do,
right here too. Yeah.
right. But tomorrow supposedly is the official release date for That's a Fact, Jack. Now, if for the digital platforms and everything, you should be able to get it. Now, can you get physical copies of the CD? I'm not really sure because I'm hearing conflicting reports that possibly uh, they may not be available till November 12th, but I'm not sure about that, you know.
So when
But I do
you
have one copy.
okay, so
Yeah.
when you guys do the album and record it and everything,
Mhm.
who does the ordering and how many copies do you normally order? Are you one of those bands that still order hundreds of thousands, or do you just kind of go with a small stack first and then it's like we'll see where we go?
Well, we leased the master to a distribution company, to a company in Nashville. So they're in charge of the pressing and the distribution. Basically, the Headhunters, we have a small label, our own label, Practice House Records. But, we don't have like a staff and people working in a
You
building.
have
Uh,
yourselves, you have the
yeah,
band.
yeah, yeah, yeah. We have ourselves, taken care of. But no, they're in charge of that. And the problem is, if everybody's having a problem getting merchandise, whether it be CDs or merch, like uh, we're having problems getting T-shirts
Oh,
right now. But there are some. I mean, but there's a lot of we've had all kind of problems here lately, and I think that's a bottleneck from last year. I think that's kind of a throwover from last year. It'll get back
sure.
to normal, but no, we don't. Basically, the distribution company's in charge of printing that up and deciding whoever orders, whether it's a buy, whether I'm not sure if it'll end up in Walmart or not. Walmart doesn't have much, but there's a lot of great independent stores that'll carry it.
Sure.
Like here in South Central Kentucky, there's some good stores, but and I'm sure Amazon will carry hard copies of it.
I seen that on the
But
website. Yeah, Amazon has
mhm,
the link for it. Yeah.
yeah,
And,
I
and
don't know if
we
it'll be available tomorrow though.
and
That's the
we
only thing.
and we have like stores like well, maybe not so much where I live as far as like I mean there is a Walmart that is like 40 miles from where I live, but
Mhm,
as far
mhm.
as like independent goes, they're more like North Dakota. Like there's places in Grand Forks and Fargo that would probably have copies or
Yes,
whatever they're able to get them anyway that would
yeah,
sell your
yeah. You got
music.
some good stores up there. I can't remember the names, but either Rapid City or when I
Well,
don't
that's the
get to
Black
do it as
Hills. that's
yeah.
that's
I
South
can't.
Dakota.
Yeah, that's right. I can't remember. There's some good stores up there though.
Oh yeah, oh
Minnesota,
yeah,
the Electric Fetus in Minnesota. Uh,
yeah. And
that's
Fargo
a
has
great.
Mother's Music, I believe. I think that's still a place.
Oh
Or
yeah, man, those stores
yeah,
are really good. They can get
yeah.
those copies, but it's a different time now. It's just a different time. I mean, when we came into the business um, as a band, as the Headhunters, it was about 45s, LPs, and then all of a sudden in '89, we got this new invention called the CD, which was cutting edge.
Oh, but you cannot forget about the cassette tape, though. Never
That's
forget about
right.
the cassette tape.
Yeah, and cassettes and singles. You remember a single?
No, I've always known
Singles.
cassettes.
I worked at a record store. I back in the '80s, I played with a country artist by the name of Ronnie McDowell,
Okay.
and when I left Ronnie to go into the Headhunters full time, uh, I went to work at a record store here in Glasgow, the Record Rack, and for about I was there about 8 months until the Headhunters really took off, and yeah, I was like in charge of ordering, LPs. I love anything to do with radio, records, and
Oh,
music,
sure.
guitars, and
Oh,
things
me
like that.
too.
Hey, now if my car dies, I don't know what to do, and
But
I
hey,
and
you can play some blues for yourself, just like I
I,
play. Oh, my car died. Do 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 do
yeah, I
do.
got to write a blues song, you know.
Yeah.
But I was gonna say, back in the day, we were ordering singles, which basically was like you might have Dumas Walker on one side of the cassette, then the flip
Oh,
side. I can't remember what the flip side was now. High Step and Daddy, I think. I'm not positive, but anyway, the
so you'd
casinos
have
went
an
away.
A side, you'd have an A side and a B side,
Hmm.
kind of like
Yeah,
Okay, yeah,
casino. Yeah,
yeah.
and I think they sold for like I don't know, $2.99, $3.99, or
Oh,
something like
okay.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I've never seen that. I've always just been familiar with cassettes. I mean, as far as like a full
Mhm.
album anyway, or live stuff or whatever.
Yeah. Well, my son, he's not here right now. He he loves cassettes. He's infatuated with it. I have one of the good things that came out of the pandemic for me was I was able to take my basement and turn it into something usable again, because it had become an abyss of a wasteland, so to speak. And when the pandemic hit, we only played 10 shows last year. And
Oh,
so I hired a friend who had just retired from the hospital here in Glasgow. He was a janitor. And I said, man, will you help me clean my basement? This is the year. I was not going to get to do this until I retire, but we got time now. He came and looked at the basement and he went, oh my Lord. But that's what we did. That's what we did. But I've got boxes of CDs in this one. There's another room out back in the garage that's full of vinyl and cassettes. And so my son, um, once, like when I go do the radio show I do on Monday nights, he'll go down and get a cassette.
yeah.
He'll just grab a cassette out of that box. And it could be the Headhunters rehearsing back in the 80s or 90s. It could be anything, a mixtape I used to make. And that's what he listens to going to Bowling Green. And he
Oh,
loves
that's cool.
cassettes.
That's
So
cool.
I still buy him little Walkmans. You know, I make sure he has a Walkman. My son is
See?
autistic. He's highly functioning autistic.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
but he loves cassettes, and so I make sure that he has plenty of
But
them.
I'm sure he was raised right by you, the old school way, of loving,
Oh
just, being, accepting of where you come from, never forgetting
yeah,
your roots and just, love the little things. Don't make such a big thing about the big, little things. Just enjoy them and maybe they'll be a big thing someday, that sort of thing.
well, we yes, he's a very very good boy. He's a very he has a job. He works at Goodwill.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
him and my wife Ruth, they went to go get a birthday card for one of the grandkids. So they may come making a noise here in a minute through the garage
Oh,
door.
okay. Does he,
But yeah, he's a good kid. Eric's a great kid.
does he play music with you at all? Does he know how to play guitar or anything like
He
that?
will
Or-
not. Guitars do not turn his crank. Matter of
Oh,
fact, he thinks he uh, if anybody follows me on Facebook, they know who Mr. E is. That's my son. And one of the things he dislikes is loud, blaring guitar. He says that loud electric guitars are annoying.
jeez.
But that's
Wow.
because his hearing is
Okay.
very sensitive, very
Sure, sure,
sensitive.
sure,
So is my
sure.
wife, actually.
So he probably doesn't like to go to movie theaters or anything either, I suppose, nowadays, huh?
He likes the movies. He enjoys that, but he don't like loud. Uh, he listens to his cassettes. He's got a stereo, and things like that. But he just can't handle the loud
Sure, sure.
blaring of a Marshall amp or a Fender
Well,
amp.
because
Anyway,
some theaters, have like a surround sound
they
system, or
do.
they
They
do.
do.
So that's why I
Yeah.
was asking that question. Everybody loves films, but I mean, like,
Oh yeah.
just the audio, coming from that anyway. But
Sure.
yeah, I mean, I'm the same way. I mean, I've always loved music. I've always,
Hmm.
loved, just the foundation of where it comes from and the history
Hmm.
of it. I'm old school, even though I'm 38 years old. I was brought up the right way. I'd like to think anyway, with old music. My first
Yeah.
love was Buddy Holly.
Oh gosh,
I
yes.
mean, how many 38-year-olds today do you would know who Buddy Holly is? Not too
I
many.
love Buddy Holly. Matter of fact, uh, well, this is not Buddy Holly's guitar.
No.
But this is one like Buddy would have played.
Yeah, yeah,
This is
yeah.
a 1957 Strat, and
Sure.
that would have been what he would have used, back in the day.
Yeah.
And we're Buddy Holly fans too. We love Buddy
Oh,
Holly.
that's cool. And then
Yeah,
eventually, love, traveled on to like Roy Orbison and Del
yeah.
Shannon and
Oh, sure, man.
and the guys that, because here's the thing, and I keep saying this to other people that I interview too that are into radio or music or TV or whatever. I'm getting so irritated by always playing the hit songs on the radio and always hearing
Sure.
hit songs on the radio. That's why I appreciate a guy like you who's almost kind of like me, who is almost like you, because it's like we care about albums. We don't just
Absolutely.
care about hits. I mean, okay, the hits make the money, sure, whatever, and they get you
Mhm.
famous and everything. But the deep tracks. I mean, when you write an album or when you put an album together, you're not focusing on just making every song a
No.
hit, are you? No, you're
Oh,
hoping that
no.
people will
No.
enjoy the album because you're telling a story in every song.
Well, our band tries to write good songs, and if we do a cover, it has to have some kind of a connection with us. Like on the new album, we did a song called Cheap Tequila, which was written by Rick Derringer,
Oh,
and it was first released by Johnny Winter on Still Alive and Well. He did a version of it. Then Rick did a version on All American Boy. And Fred has always loved that song. He's just loved it. And eventually he tried to get me to sing it. I said, man, I love the song, but you have a connection with that song and you've got to do it. So we went and did it our own way. But I guess what I'm trying to say, when we go in and do an album, I mean, obviously, you would love to think that you have a song that could be played on radio, whatever that encompasses now. Radio is a whole different animal,
oh yeah, yeah.
it's a whole different animal. I don't know. Hearing us on a top 20 format, I don't much believe. I mean, anything's possible as long as you're breathing, of course.
Sure, sure,
But
sure.
I don't know if you'll ever hear us on top 40 anymore. Maybe you will. But now I think, we try to write the best songs we can. And this album that that's getting ready to be released is very interesting. It's a smorgasbord of styles, but it's definitely Headhunter music. And when we went in, I mean, literally, we didn't really know what we were going to do. Had no idea. You know,
Was this all recorded during the pandemic?
it was recorded back. Let me think about this, around early February to March of this year. So yeah,
Oh, okay, okay.
yeah, we had no time to get together and rehearse, hash out ideas, or write together as a band. So I mean, we were going to, as you know, last year was pretty much a wash.
Yeah.
Uh, we Our last date last year was November 13th, but I was diagnosed with COVID November 12th. And so I had to take a hiatus and I had to be isolated for about 2 weeks and go through that. And the guys went out with the Blackstone Cherries guitarist, Chris Robertson.
Huh.
They played a date in Knoxville, I think, on November 13th. I can't remember now. It's all a blur. But we were going to probably record in November last year, but that didn't work out. So when we got through the holidays, we started talking about January. And then when we were waiting for the studio, the studio we use here in Glasgow, we had to wait for him to make a move to another building. And then it finally I think it worked out that it was sometime in early February, I believe, is when we went in. So yeah, it's during the pandemic, but there again, we weren't really prepared as a band. But when we got into the studio, there were songs, and we played through them, and we recorded what we needed. And I'm happy with the way it turned out. I think it's a pretty solid album, for guys that went through the pandemic and didn't play but 10 shows last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you never forget what you're good at, though. See, that's just the thing. And I'm sure, I mean, even while you had the free time, I'm sure, I mean, you said you never had time to rehearse, but did you ever just play privately just for yourself?
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah. All the time. I mean, my life, and I could say this for the boys too. Everybody in this band, four of us, we're lifers. This is what I would say, even though we chose to do it, I think it was just what we were supposed to do in life. And I know Fred, he'll go up to the practice house and he'll play drums, and Doug writes and plays. Richard writes when he can. Richard's really uh, on top of the business stuff more than I am.
Oh,
I'm not,
yeah. Yeah.
and I'm
Seems like
glad.
it.
I'm glad there's somebody does that, because we've been in trouble,
Well,
you know.
Richard hooked me up with you this time.
Yeah.
I originally
Richard,
I was going to try to see if I could have done something with all the members of the band, but he said you guys are impossible to get together, and I'm just like, how's that possible? How's that impossible? You guys are a band. You guys are always together. But it
no,
is what it
the
is.
thing is, we got Doug lives about an hour and a half from here. Then Richard lives about 30 minutes from here. So if we do anything interview wise right now during the pandemic, I mean, not that we can't be together. It's just about the only way we can do things is individual. I guess you could do Zoom with 3 or 4 people. I guess, right?
Sure. Oh yeah, you can have multiple people, but I
It,
guess if
I
you're
don't think I don't.
recording, I don't
It's a
know like
it's a
how that
you
works.
Doug and I could have done it together pretty easy,
Oh
but
sure.
you could still get Doug to do it as well if you want Doug, or if you want you say you had Richard, but I mean
Yep.
anybody in the band. It's just getting us together on days off is what Richard
Sure.
was saying. You know,
Okay.
we're older now, and
Yeah.
everybody's got family stuff, and we don't. It's not like, if you used to watch the Monkees?
Oh
Remember the
yeah.
Monkees?
Yeah. Yep.
Remember
Yep.
how they lived together, and
Yeah.
how
Oh
the
yeah.
Beatles always seemed like they were together.
Oh
Well,
absolutely.
that was our fantasy too when we were kids. We thought, oh man, we can get a house and we can all live together. Of course, as you get older and have families, I didn't see last year, unless we played a gig. I saw Richard from time to time at the post office, uh, but I never saw Doug or Fred unless we had a gig.
Oh
And
okay.
like I say, it was 10 gigs. So
Yeah.
yeah, so
Hey, yeah. Well, I mean that's fine, and one is better
sure.
than none. I don't, I'm not, somebody that needs to be, like
Well,
needs everybody.
I'll tell
I
you
thought it'd be
what.
kind of cool as a way to promote the album because I tell you what, with how popular you guys still are, this would have this well even this right now is perfect. I mean,
Perfect
you're
timing.
giving me so much information, and we're having a good conversation, and it's just
Yeah, sure.
flowing very well. So sometimes when you get more people, it's like everybody wants to turn to talk, and it's like then we
Well,
all,
that's a problem. I'm a motor mouth. Richard's a motor mouth, and we sometimes cancel out each other. I've always told people you're better off to get everybody individually, because if you really want to get Fred to talk and get Doug to talk, get them on by themselves, because uh, we're just me and Richard are motor mouths, and
Sure.
I mean, and Doug's wonderful interview, man. I mean,
Yeah,
everybody,
I've seen a couple of interviews, and I've seen you
every,
guys together, like in festivals and other things going on.
oh sure,
It seems like you guys click very well.
we do,
Honestly, for a
we
band.
do. It's a family. It's a
Oh
family. I
yeah.
mean, everybody gets aggravated every now and then, but there's a core of love that keeps it from going off the track. That's the thing about it. Everybody
What
loves each other. It's family.
what I'm kind of wondering is like, because of how long you've been associated with Blackstone Cherry, does that attract more younger fans to your guys' products as well?
Well, that's
Because
definitely
I've been a fan even prior to knowing about Blackstone Cherry. I mean, I've been a fan for like 25, 30 years since I've
sure.
known you guys. But I mean, as far as a younger audience, does that help?
Oh,
Have that connection?
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. They've turned us onto a whole different crowd, of course. Um, and I don't even know how long them guys have been around for a pretty good while now. How long have they been around?
About 20 years, I'd say, or
I
so.
guess it's hard to believe, but yeah,
You know?
they've been around 20 years.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, that they've been really instrumental in helping us, especially over in England. Over here, we were more of a household word than they are. But now their crowd is different than our crowd. It's a different thing. But over in England, they were really instrumental in getting us over the first time, 2016. You know, and we ended up playing Ramblin' Man with them.
I think
And
that was the interview that I seen. You were being interviewed by a lady or a girl around
absolutely,
that
I think
time.
we're
Yeah.
sitting on hay
Hey,
bales, I
yeah,
believe.
yep, yep, yep. And Richard was
I think it
talking,
was
and
in
you
the
couldn't barely
morning.
talk. I
I
remember
remember.
that.
I think I was in my pajamas. I
Yeah,
think.
Richard was talking over you all the time, and you couldn't do much.
Exactly. That's why you do not get the Headhunters together, and that's not a put down. That's just say if you want to get everybody together, you're just pretty much. It's kind of useless, really. Yeah, but that's okay. I think. Yeah, I say, man, let Richard go, get him. Whatever.
It seems like overseas, a lot of even bands that were really popular at one time, or even had some hits or
Yep.
whatever. It seems like overseas, compared to America, nothing against America or whatever, because America's
No, I
great,
know.
and we love the country and everything. But
Sure.
but overseas, the people over there have a more respect for the and love for the music than it's just about the how much money the person's made or whatever. It just seems
Um,
like that.
well, Canada and Europe is a whole different thing. They don't forget you as fast. Over here, you're being bombarded with so much information, so many new acts. Radio's such a different thing. People tend to forget you uh, a lot faster. We have managed to cultivate a pretty good following over here, and we work a lot. I mean, we're we were we're lucky that we still have this fan base over here, but
Sure.
the Europe thing is something new for us. I don't really get to we don't get to do that very often because that's a hard little tour
Yeah,
because you have to.
Richard said he didn't fly or doesn't, he was afraid of flying, which I
Well,
am
he
too. So I
was
mean,
he was up till 2016, and we've been over 3 times. But honestly, at our age, it's harder to do that now. For me anyway. I can't speak for the rest of the guys, but with family stuff going on and that. I love the people in England. The ones that love us over there, you just can't beat them. But it's a hard tour. I mean, you fly over. Sometimes you fly over and you have to go right and play without any sleep, and then you're in a sprinter van running around. Um, it's just a different way of life. You
but
know,
I'm sure they treat you good. I mean, as far as
they
you're
do.
their guest,
Oh,
so I mean,
people. Oh, they're wonderful. I can't say anything bad about the Brits or we've been to Switzerland too. It's just the way we have to tour over there. It's just harder.
sure,
I'm 68 years old now, man. So
yeah.
it's just a little harder to do that.
So there's a 30-year age difference, I'd say, unless you just turned. Did you just turn 68?
I just turned 68, man. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I turned 38
Everybody in this
last month.
band, everybody's in their 60s now.
Sure.
Richard's right behind me. He's 66. Um, Fred is 63, I think. I don't know. Now Doug's a youngster. He's the youngster in the band. You know, but yeah, man. I mean, we enjoyed going over the 3 times we went over. It was great. And who's to say what shall happen again? I don't know. I know
And
we're.
I suppose if you would have done all this stuff when you were younger, I suppose it probably would have
Oh,
naturally flowed with you. Like this would have been like every year we're gonna go overseas or whatever.
oh yeah. If we were able to start when we were younger, by now we would have been. We would have built quite a crowd. Quite a following. But unfortunately, it just didn't work out. We were slated to tour with Dire Straits and Was Not Was in the winter of 1992. And then the Gulf War broke out and it
Oh,
killed that tour. So whenever they wanted to put that tour back together, and that's sad because that would have that would have started something wonderful way back.
especially
But
with Dire Straits, man. I tell you, that's
oh
a
man, that would have been
Mark Knopfler.
first class. But when they rescheduled the tour, we already were on tour with Hank Jr.
Oh,
and
there you
we
go.
we,
Something
we
even
couldn't.
better.
Yeah, for over here,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But hey, que sera sera. What will be will be.
You've had a good career no matter what. I mean,
I can't
no matter
complain.
what happens,
I can't complain, man. I'm done everything and more than what I ever envisioned when I got smitten by the music bug. I never envisioned doing half of. If you told me some of the things that we've got to do, uh, I would it would have blown my mind. It's been
So
wonderful.
you guys are kind of like living the way, kind of like being like the Rolling Stones or any other band that's still going on. I mean, what the hell is age? I mean, if you can still rock and roll, I mean,
Yeah,
and you guys can obviously,
no, there's no age limit until you physically just can't do it, or if your faculties slow down or whatever. I think the band plays really well. I like to hear that. I think the band plays better now live than it's ever played. I think we've laid back. We used to be a ball of energy. We've all had some ailments, pop
Yeah,
up, since we hit the road as the Headhunters, back in the '80s. But I,
sure.
we used to be really a lot of more energy. But I think the band plays better. more mature, and we play what we should play now, you know, and we just I enjoy it live. I think it's
Well,
fun.
what impresses me, and I say this to a lot of people I have on my show as well, but this is just because I really
Mhm.
like you guys' style and what you guys
Thank
have
you.
always done, and what impresses me is just your history, your storied
Yeah.
history of how it
Yeah.
all started. I know
Yes,
you've
sir.
probably been asked these questions thousands of times,
It's okay.
but I mean it's just it's just interesting. You start from playing in the late '60s and
Yeah.
then kind of I never really heard of Itchy Brother before. I was trying to look for something to see if there was anything out, couldn't find nothing,
Sure.
and then eventually do stuff as a Headhunters, and then all of a sudden explode. And
Hmm.
then here comes Brother Phelps come along and
Hmm.
do their thing, and then they
Yep.
some come back, some don't, and it's
Sure.
like it's
Sure.
just a whirlwind of a crazy career that you probably never thought you were going to have.
No, I
Maybe.
had no idea. I was smitten by you know, and there again, I can speak for everybody in this band. Everybody was smitten by the music bug early in their life before I met them, whether it was seeing Elvis Presley or the Beatles or the Rolling Stones or whatever that cultivated them into this crazy life, you know, and or you know, put them into this. You know, we were just it chose us. I think that's what I
Sure.
would think. Um, I for myself, I grew up in Louisville, Kentucky as a kid, and I grew up listening to AM radio. What really when the Beatles hit, the Lovin' Spoonful, the Rolling Stones, Bob Dylan, the Dave Clark Five, Herman's, you know,
Those
that
are
thing.
your inspirations as far as you're
Well,
into music.
early
Okay.
on, and that changed as Jimi Hendrix and Cream and Led Zeppelin and people like that hit. But you know, I started taking an interest in music early on, and I know everyone in this band has a different story. But um, in 1968, it's almost like I had some kind of apparition or something. Seriously, that's the only thing I can tell you. My cousin, I was living in Midcalf County, and I'll back up. My dad, we lived in Louisville till 1966, and one day my dad came home from his job at a printing company and says, "I quit my job. I'm moving us back to Midcalf County." That was my family roots, and of course we grew up. You know, I liked Louisville, but I also liked Midcalf County because we visited Midcalf County in the summer. So after Christmas of 1966, we loaded up. It's like the Beverly Hillbillies leaving the city and going back home, I guess. And and
Yeah.
we moved to Midcalf County, and all I had to do, we were on this. We moved into this farmhouse out in the middle of nowhere. I had a tabletop GE radio that I could pick up uh, local radio during the day. I could pick up WLS out of Chicago at night, WCFL out of Chicago, WoWo out of Fort Wayne, WLAC out of Nashville, who played a lot of R&B. And if I was lucky, I could still get Louisville stations during the day. And that was pretty much my contact to the outer world, you know, from Midcalf. And plus the few records that I brought back with me. We had a stereo that that one side completely didn't work, but I had some Mitch Ryder records. I had Lovin' Spoonful records, Beach Boys, Beatles, you know, things like that. And upstairs in this farmhouse we moved into, somebody had left an old K or Silvertone guitar that you could actually shoot arrows off of. The strings were so high,
Oh
you know.
wow.
But I'm telling you, if I hadn't moved if Dad hadn't have moved us to Metcalf County when he did, I would have met Richard and Fred like I did. Because if you fast forward to the fall of 1968, my brother was getting married. He still lived in Louisville. My dad had to take a job in Louisville. He didn't get the employment here in Midcalf, so he would drive back and forth. You know, he would work during the week in Louisville and then drive home. And my brother stayed up there. My brother got married in October 1968. So he took us all to the wedding. And my cousin Larry Dowell took me to see a band called Elysian Field in Louisville sometime in October. I can't remember the wedding date or anything. I tried to
Sure.
put all this together. But I tell you, when I saw this band live, it was like, and I'm never, I never take, I couldn't tell you what acid's like, but it was like
Me
an
neither.
apparition. It was like an apparition seeing these guys play. I said, I absolutely, this is what I had seen the Lovin' Spoonful in November of 1966 and loved it. But when I saw this band, they were called Elysian Field, I said, this is what I want to do the rest of my life. I want to play guitar. Uh, and about a week or two later, my cousin, Larry Sullivan, comes on the bus. Larry's got some family history, music history in his family as well. His family were Lonzo and Oscar, which were huge country artists
Huh.
back in the 40s and 50s. Huge, way bigger than us or Blackstone Cherry. I mean, they sold way more records. But anyway, Larry came on the bus one day and said, "Hey, man, there's this kid just transferred to Edmonton Elementary from North Midcalf because his dad, who was a teacher at North Midcalf, James Howard Young, he had to get some student teaching in or some credits or something. So they sent him up to Edmonton, and Richard and his sister Mary Jane transferred up to Edmonton. Well, there was going to be a 4-H talent show in November of 1968. And Larry said, we're going to do a talent show. And this guy has just moved in named Richard. Uh, would you like to meet him? And would you like to participate in this talent show? And of course, I said, yeah, sure. Why not? So I met Richard. I walked down to the Midcalf County, to the Edmonton cafeteria one day. Well, I walked into the library, uh, and James Howard, who I'd never seen, he was teaching some kids. Richard's dad was amazing, a great teacher, a great historian, but he was teaching some kids. He was getting these kids ready for this play. So I went on into the cafeteria and I met with Richard Young, and we sat down. I had my Gretsch Silver Jet guitar. I think he had a guitar. I think we played Hey Jude. We
Oh.
played Born to Be Wild, maybe Sunshine of Your Love, and a couple, three songs. And we said, yeah, let's do this. And we did this talent show. And I think there was a couple other guys from the school. And I can't think, it was Kevin Emerton on drums, possibly Gary Martin on bass, and maybe somebody else. And I think the fictitious name we picked was the Grange. And I have no idea why we were called the Grange. But after it was all over, we did this talent show. I think we placed third place, second place, or whatever. And Richard said, "Hey, I've got a band with my brother Fred and my cousin Anthony, and would you like to come jam?" And they liked me because I had at 16 years old or whatever, however I was, I had great sideburns. Now they're great. Now they're great.
Oh,
But
jeez.
but he they we hooked up at the old practice house. You know, it's funny. It's funny, Sean. I think the first time I got together with Richard and Fred, there was another bass player by the name of Steve Perkins involved, and I didn't meet Anthony Kenny till about like another week or two later. But when Richard, Fred, Anthony, and I got together, and I heard Anthony play bass, we were doing Revolution by the Beatles, or trying, and I was like, whoa, listen to him walk that bass, man. And there was just something clicked back in 68. There was a chemistry, it's almost like a God-given thing. I mean, it was just like fate, I guess, to
Sure.
meet these guys. And and that's how we actually met. And then, we put our band together. They were called the Truce. When I joined them, they were called the Truce.
Sure.
And we went through a succession of names. I think we went through I think we were called Aftermath for a while, Mandrake Velvet, Hickory Trash, and we landed on Itchy Brother. That was a little later on when we landed on Itchy Brother. But we played off, we played all through school together. And then when I graduated in 1972, my parents wanted to move back to Louisville. My dad was tired of driving back and forth. And
Uh,
at first, I wasn't going to go with him. I was going to just stay and work at the grocery store. I had a store, a store job, a sack
yeah,
boy, butcher, whatever,
sure.
and play with the guys. But it just didn't work out that way. So I had to move back to Louisville in the summer of 1972, and we tried to play together as much as we could, but the miles made it hard for us to stay together. So them guys ended up getting some other members, and Itchy Brother formed. It's funny. I think Itchy Brother actually, the name kind of happened around 1973, 74. But we did get together in early 70. We recorded in 73. We recorded a little 45 record, Shotgun Effie and Rock and Roller.
Okay.
And yeah, yeah. So Shotgun Effie was a song I started writing in 1973 in Indiana, and then we finished it up together. And of course, it's on the new album. We went ahead and did another version of it because everybody
Oh,
says we want to hear the Itchy Brothers song. I said, well, okay. Uh,
yeah.
but first, I didn't want to sing Cheap Tequila. That was Fred's song. I said, let me just attempt to do Shotgun Effie, which I hadn't sang that song since 1973, 74, and way out of my range now. But anyway,
Well, that's pretty cool that you can incorporate some stuff from the past anyway.
yeah, we still
Yeah.
do that. We still do that.
Oh,
But
that's awesome.
that was the genesis of what would eventually morph into the Kentucky Headhunters. I mean, there was a lot of different doors shutting,
I
closing,
suppose, yeah.
yeah, and opening, and different members. And there again, there was times, when I couldn't play with the guys. I came back in 1977 and started playing with Richard and Fred and Anthony again, and that was Itchy Brother, and we came so close to getting a record deal with Swan Song Records. Then John Bonham died, um, and that shut that door.
Yeah,
And
I
I had to, due to being
remember
married, I had to take a gig with Ronnie. Well, I'm not going to say had to. It was a
that.
fortunate. I was fortunate to get it. I was fortunate to
Yeah.
get it because he was a good boss. And through that gig with Ronnie McDowell, I met Doug Phelps because he started at the same time I did. So there's a little puzzle here that kind of had to be put together. Richard went to write at Acuff Rose. Fred played with a country artist by the name of Sylvia. So everybody got out in the world, so to speak, and got different experiences. Then when we put the Headhunters back together in 1986, Anthony didn't want to do it. I suggested we bring Doug Phelps into the fold. Everybody was a little reluctant at first because they didn't know him,
Sure.
and they wanted Anthony, which I understand. But Anthony didn't want to do it. His heart had been pretty much broken by not getting the record deal with Swan Song, and he was happily married, and he had a job, and he said, y'all go." But we got Doug up, and we started jamming. Initially, we started jamming in my basement here in Glasgow, in another place. Then we took it out to practice house, and but so as the Headhunters, the real genesis, I mean, when it really started, it was like March of 1986. But there was a lot of things leading up to it, Itchy
Oh,
Brother,
sure.
you know,
Absolutely. And
yeah.
you guys ever do like any reunion shows where you guys just everybody, all the band members get back together for like one or two
Yeah.
shows? And
You talking about the Kentucky Headhunters
I'm
or Itchy
talking,
Brother?
yeah, yeah. I mean, ever since you guys came together as Kentucky Headhunters, because
No,
you've had like 4 or 5 or 6 or 7
yeah,
or 8 members, or
there's been three other guys involved in the band, as you know. Ricky Phelps. Ricky
yeah.
Phelps has showed up. He's showed up to gigs. He's been on stage with us. Yeah, like if we're playing in Florida, if we're playing somewhere, and he shows up, he'll come up and sing a song. So yeah, that would be a reunion. I
Because
mean, it's
wasn't he
not.
like the lead singer of the band, kind of,
Yeah, he
or yeah,
was. I'm picking on Nashville
yeah. So
and Arthur Varney.
how do you replace the lead singer then? I mean, it's like
Well,
who
it's
takes over for
with
him?
us. With us, it's hard. It's hard. But what happened when they left in June of 1992. I mean, it was just the three of us left, and it was hard. I mean, it was extremely. I mean, we basically turned to our cousin Anthony at that point, who had taken my gig with Ronnie McDowell when I left Ronnie McDowell in June of 1989. Andy Kinney, at that point, he was ready to get out on the road and do things. And when we lost Doug and Ricky, when they left the band in '92, Anthony Kinney was ready to come back into the fold on bass. And a singer by the name of Mark Orr, who had played with a version of Itchy Brother with Richard and Fred, he came back in. Now, it was a whole different chemistry. It wasn't the same thing. If you listen to Rave On and That'll Work, it's a whole different sound. And I'm not saying it's bad. It's really a good sound. It just
Well,
wasn't country.
who was the one that sang the song "Honky Tonk Walking"? Because it seems like there's
That's
a
Mark.
different. That's
Mark
Mark.
Orr.
Okay,
Mark Orr.
okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because I've
Yeah.
heard that song and it sounds like that's not doesn't sound like the original
No,
singer.
no, that was a whole different thing, man. I mean, we were forced into a whole different thing. And honestly, it's hard to replace a singer. So it came painfully obvious by 1995. We were talking about this on the bus last night. We had to go to Nashville, do some TV.
Sure.
And we were talking about this last night, because when 95, this whole thing just about tanked. It was really close to just going down the tubes. And Doug, the Brother Phelps thing had kind of folded pretty quick. They did about 2 years. And
Yeah, like two
Ricky,
albums or
and
whatnot.
I guess
Yeah.
Ricky was just tired of doing it, you know.
Huh.
And by the way, I love Ricky Phelps. I have no problem with Ricky. I was a little distraught. I was a lot of distraught when
Well,
they
yeah.
left in '92. But I understand. The guy did what he thought was best for his spirit. He went on to do something else. That's what can you say? But Doug
Very
wanted to
talented
come back.
anyway. That's for sure.
Oh, Ricky's very talented. I have nothing but accolades for that guy. But Doug came back into the band as the lead vocalist in '95, the end of '95, I think. I believe that's when he came back. It could have been '96, but he has a voice that's very similar to Ricky, but it's a little different too. It's steeped in some different influences than Ricky. So to have Doug back as vocalist on the lion's share of the stuff, it made things pretty easy. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I would say so because I was listening to some also some live concerts that you guys do. All this
Sure.
stuff is on YouTube. It's like it's not hard to learn about people. Like
Oh,
I've known a lot.
absolutely.
I've known a lot about you guys. In the course of time and everything. But I really wanted to get caught up on because you forget sometimes. It's like I want to learn more about you guys and see what I can find footage wise
Oh,
because
sure,
that's
man.
always interesting, especially when you find it on YouTube. So I found a concert of you guys together, just like from like 2011 or whatever it was, and Doug gave
2011. That would have been the
Rochester
lineup.
Festival or something, or
Which
something.
festival is it?
It was like in Rochester, New York, or something.
Oh yeah. That's the 4-piece lineup. Well, yeah. There's been, if you go back to the original lineup, when we put this band together, originally it was the lineup that's together now. It's Richard, Fred, Doug, and I. That's what started for about a few months. Ricky came into the fold, and and then we had the 5-piece band.
Yeah.
And when Ricky and Doug left in '92, then Mark and it is kind of interesting. Mark and Anthony came into the band from '92. That lineup lasted from '92 to '95, and then Mark left, I think, in '95, and then Doug came back in. And at that point, he played rhythm guitar. We had 3 guitars, and he sang. So that lineup lasted till that was from like 1990, end of 1995, early '96 to 2005, 2006
Oh
or
wow.
something like that. Then Anthony left. Then that put us back to what we started out as. And
So I suppose if Ricky would have been able to do the lead vocals for your first album, do you think it still would have been as popular, or do you think that really doesn't matter when it comes to
no,
who's the
I
singing?
think there was a chemistry for that period that had to happen. I think these things. I heard Richard say this on the bus last night. When lightning hits, you have no control of it. You know, it happened on its own. There was. We all had individual experiences, and there were parts of the puzzles that had to happen to make it happen in the physical realm. But I think there was a spiritual thing going on that had to be the five of us to start it out and to push it in to where it went. No, I think it had to have Ricky in the beginning, but we, as people came and went, and, you know, we morphed into what we are now. And
Sure,
I, by the grace of God, I think this is pretty much about the way it'll be till we end it. You know, I
sure.
hope. Well, I hope it goes for a long time.
Yeah,
God only knows.
another 50 years or so. I mean, that's what the hell,
I hope it goes for
You can be you can be like Williams and Reed, start your second 50-year career. Start the
yeah,
next
yeah,
50
but
years. And
yeah, we sure are blessed, man. And I mean, I don't see the lineup changing. God only knows; He knows ahead before we do. But the way it is now is real comfortable, you
I'm
know.
surprised that no younger person, like say of my age or whatever, would have ever contacted you guys and been like, hey, like just lately, not anybody that you've had already, but like just to say, hey, I play, I like you guys. I mean, could I play in the band? Type of deal.
But you just adding somebody to the band. We got a chemistry. It's a God given chemistry, and you just cannot bring another person in. It has to be. I mean, honestly, I don't mean anything. Uh, don't mean anything derogatory towards anybody, but we got what we need. You know, this is
Sure,
what we are. And
sure.
Richard handled some of the vocals. I sing on one song, which I don't consider myself a vocalist. I have never worked at it that hard. I quit working on that back in the '70s, you know,
Yeah.
but I think the band is supposed to be what it is. Now, there's one guy that we call on when we need piano on the album, and he fits in real well, and he's played live with us a few times. Kevin McKendry.
Okay.
And we've also used Jimmy Hall on some harmonica. But most generally, I think the way it is now is the way it started, and I think that's just the way it was supposed to
Sure.
be. And uh, there again, everybody that was in this band brought something wonderful to the band, and uh, they went to do other things, and that's what they wanted to do. And there's no hard feelings, you know. You know.
So do you look at Blackstone Cherry kind of like as maybe a harder, heavier
Oh yeah,
version of the
oh yeah.
Kentucky Headhunters?
Well, no, I don't. I don't even hear though. I don't hear no head.
Well,
I
because
don't
you
really
got
hear
John
head.
Fred as your drummer or as a drummer,
I
for
don't
that
hear
band. So,
headhunters in them at all.
oh,
It's funny now. The way we talk and the way we live is all similar, but they, you know, and I was talking to somebody about this. They came up with a different, and they love Hendrix, they love Cream, but they came through a whole set of different uh, influences than we did, you know. And I wouldn't know. I don't know anything about that kind of rock to really
oh, like
know
a
exactly.
harder, heavier metal type of
Yeah,
rock or
yeah.
whatever.
I don't know
Yeah,
as much
yeah.
about that. I mean, what I considered, you know, when Richard, Fred, and I were growing up, we were always listening to the heavier stuff around. We were going to, you know, Humble Pie. What we thought was we were listening to Humble Pie and Allman Brothers and Cream and Hendrix and Blue Cheer and stuff like that. That was our heavy music. Now, what these, you know, the Blackstone Cherry kids listened to, whatever made them what pushed them. And I know Richard had a big hand in helping them guys, but I don't really, I don't really hear that much headhunt. I guess there has to be
It
that.
has to be a little bit because I mean you got
Yeah, I
a
know it
family
does.
member in the band, so I mean
Well,
and you
yeah,
guys know
it's
each
there.
other.
It's there. I don't hear it as much.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
they did a couple bluesy
they've
albums
got their
too just recently.
yeah,
So I mean that's kind of that's a
yeah.
different
That
side.
gets more in our territory. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, And what I'm saying is, this is really complimentary because I think they found their own niche, their own sound. Whatever they do is Blackstone Cherry. If I hear them on the radio, soon as Chris opens his mouth, I know who it is, and
Oh
I can
yeah.
tell Chris on guitar as well. Uh, he's got his own thing, so you know,
Oh, that's awesome.
there's a lot of music in this area. There's another band called Otis. They're not together now because Steve Jewell, who was the other guitarist in Otis, is now playing bass for Blackstone Cherry. And they're not, but they were another band, but they had their own sound too. But I think from people that said maybe such as yourself and people looking at our little area, they must hear something that's very similar. I guess that maybe
Well,
I don't hear
maybe.
it.
Well, I
Maybe
think well for me, I just think it's just because of the you have
yes,
family
the
influence. I mean,
lineage.
that's where that comes from. I
Oh,
don't think they're trying
absolutely.
to copy you guys. You're not trying to copy
No,
them.
they
You
yeah,
guys,
they never no,
yeah.
they went for their own thing. They never tried to copy
Although
us
it
at
would
all.
have been kind of cool to see them do like a Kentucky Headhunters like tribute album or something like that, just in tribute to you guys, and then
But
you guys
they
do
could do it. They
then
could
you
flat
guys
do it.
then you guys do a Blackstone Cherry tribute, kind of like
Yeah,
it's like a
yeah.
crossover.
Well, every now and then we do play a gig with those guys. Uh, I don't know the last time we did play with the last time we did play with them was in Florida, February of 2020. That's last now. I can't remember the last time I even saw those boys because everybody's got their own lives and running in
Sure,
different directions.
sure.
But now they're playing a hometown show here in Glasgow in December now.
Huh.
But I think it's December 18th. There's something. I got something going on.
Might be on the road again. Who knows?
Well, I don't know. Usually that late we're not, but anyway, yeah,
Huh.
them boys are they're out there kicking up the dust, man. They're doing it too.
Oh,
They
that's
are.
awesome.
We're very proud of them. Yeah.
It's great to know that people still that everybody loves the music, and that music's never going to go away. It's here. It's always going to be here. So
Well, yes. You know, yeah, absolutely. And the beautiful thing about, as I mentioned earlier, the first time I ever jammed with Fred and Richard together was at the practice house, and I'm thinking it was November of 1968. And you know, and that was our place to get together and practice, and that's what Blackstone Cherry used too. They put their thing together at the old practice house, and we don't get up there like we used to because we're all busy and we're just don't. When we're off the road, man, I don't see them guys as much. I hear from Richard every day, of course,
oh,
and
sure, sure,
I
sure.
hear from Fred too. We're family, man. Come on, we're family.
Well, I'm glad I was able to hear from you today and do this interview with you. It's
Oh
been a
man,
really
it's a
it's been an honor.
pleasure.
I
It's
mean,
a
really,
pleasure.
I shake your hand virtually. I guess we'll just
Well, Eric, are you back there? My son, I saw my son pop in here. I think
Huh.
I was gonna get him to say exactly what he thought about guitars.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, as far as to what the gist of our conversation today is this upcoming release of this album. That's a fact, Jack. Chocked with 12 Headhunters, Headhunter infused songs, and hope you guys enjoy it because we sure enjoyed doing it. Once we got through the first 2 days of trying to figure out what we were going to do, and it's coming out. So
Coming out tonight.
yeah, yeah,
Digital is available as soon as possible, and physical copies might take a little bit, depending
yep.
on.
It may do it. It may do it. I'm doing a little adjusting because I thought I might show you the room here a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah, yeah. I'd love to see your room.
Uh,
I'm just so impressed with the fact that you have as much music as you do. I mean, that's just
can
like
you
wow.
can you see? Can you see what I'm showing you
Oh
here?
yeah, absolutely.
Well,
Oh
let me show you.
yes.
All right, let me see if I can explain. There's a few guitars right there, but right here, I think over here is like I think that the little corner is some gospel music,
Oh,
like the Five Blind Boys of Alabama and stuff like that. Then that right there is my soul music section right there.
oh, so you have
Uh,
everything categorized. So
yeah,
that's
oh yeah,
cool.
everything's in alphabetical order.
Oh
That
geez.
right there is soul music. That right there is like some jazz. That's some country right there. That is rockabilly. Uh, and that's some stuff like Government Mule. Then that's some 70s rock right there. Then that all this right here is pretty much classic rock, like such as Cream and Hendrix. There's some albums. There's a few albums right here, as you see. And there's a Grammy there. There's a
Oh, there you
Grammy just
go.
sitting up
Grab me.
there.
Yeah,
Few,
yeah.
few guitars here.
Your
There's some
place,
box sets.
your
That's
place,
box sets.
your place looks like a library for crying out loud.
It is. It's a library. Hey, we're not done yet. Can you see? Can you still see? I'm going back here in the
Yep.
back.
Oh
here.
yeah, I can see. You got good
This is
lighting.
all from right here to right here is all blues.
Jeez.
That's all blues. That's blues. And here's some amplifiers where I do a live stream out of here for a company called together.co. And there's more box sets right there.
Jeez.
More box sets.
So
more
how
box
much?
sets on
So let me ask you this then: while you're giving us the tour, how much money do you think you've invested in music?
Oh, I don't know, man. Here's the production side. There's my old, I have no idea. My wife don't even want to know, I don't think. There's my old Pioneer system.
Okay.
And there's this is where I'll be working on my radio show.
Oh
stuff.
yeah, it looks like a little booth over there.
A few
That's
guitars.
cool.
There's a few guitars. There's a 58 Les Paul there, which is worth way more in this house, actually.
Wow. Just sitting out there.
Albums. Germino head. It's kind of a mess here. So that's we affectionately call this place Electric Lazyland. So that's
Lazyland. There you go. And with all
not
the music,
that I'm lazy. Not that I'm lazy.
With all the music you have, you could easily just have your own radio station if you wanted to.
Well,
you know,
I've been doing radio, as I told you. I've been doing radio. A show called the Lowdown Hoedown for 22 and a half years. 20 years, nearly 20 years at WDNS in Bowling Green. So if anybody wants to check out, it's a blues show, but it's we take liberties with the genre. We'll do some R&B, we'll do some soul music, we'll do some, as long as it's got a trace of blues, I'll play it. You know,
absolutely.
It's everything from Robert Johnson, Son House, to Led Zeppelin, and in between, man. But I'm on the air every Monday night, Central Standard Time, 7 to 10 Central Standard Time. And it's on WDNSFM.com. And the Lowdown Hoedown. And you can check out, we got, you know, we're growing the show slowly, you know, eventually syndication, hopefully, you know, that's what we're shooting for.
God, I only wish for syndication in my life.
You know, but
you're definitely a bigger name.
Well, I've got a young fella working with me by the name of Boone Froggett, who is a really great singer, great guitar player, but he's also very smart on technical stuff, and he's really helped me a lot do some things with this basement that I never envisioned I could do out of here. But you know, eventually I want to record out of here. I want to. I'd like to be able to do my radio show live to the radio station from here.
You ever thought about doing like a solo album at all, just for yourself?
I've done projects outside the Headhunters. I've done several actually. I've done let me think. I tell you, your folks can check out if you can find one. There was a group called Rufus Huff that was very short-lived. We did one album for a label out of New York. And then there was another thing I did with Jimmy Hall from Wet Willie called The Mighty Jeremiahs. And there was another thing called Martin Smith McGee that's going to probably come out next year on a label. So that's not really a proper solo album. If I did a solo album, I'm not looking to go out and tour on my own or nothing like that. If I'm going to tour, it's going to be with the guys. Sure. If I do a solo album, it's just to throw out there. And at this age, I don't see myself out doing it. I'm having this radio show and live stream, and the Headhunters is busy enough. But I could see some solo things happening.
Sure.
Blues stuff, you know, stuff that the Headhunters don't do or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Well, again, Greg, thank you very much for letting me do this interview. And for all the people out there, this is the Greg Martin from the Kentucky Headhunters. I mean, that's me. Legit as legit. So if you think that we're faking it, No, we're not faking it. This is the real deal, man.
Well, I'm glad to be here, man. Glad to be here. And, just everybody check the new album. That's a fact, Jack. I don't know what else you can find us on our social media. We're very active on Facebook. There's a fellow working the Instagram. I don't know as much about. I'm learning about Instagram. I'm easy to find.
Well, yeah,
I'm,
I
I'm
think
easy.
I think I follow you on Facebook, I believe, and you do have a
Yeah,
pretty big following. I mean, I'm surprised. Like,
yeah, I'm
wow.
on Facebook every day. I try to cultivate that. If there's something going on with the Headhunters, I definitely post it.
Well, you're always
And
sharing cool photos. There's always something going on in your
yeah, I
world.
try to, man. And I don't know. Fred's on Facebook a bit. Richard, he just don't have time. He's busy. He's
I thought
busy.
Fred wasn't really into technology because Richard, the way Richard made it sound like he don't have a cell phone and he's just so old school. He's just like he's not really
Fred
into
don't
all
have a
that.
cell phone. He don't.
Yeah.
Some people don't, man. I know Vince Gill. Vince Gill, you could text Vince Gill.
Uh-huh.
He's never texted in his life, but if he wants to talk to you, you text him, he'll call you back.
Does he
And
have the
I
little?
think
Does
there's
he have
other
the
people like.
little? Does he have the little flippy phone, or would that be a
I
surprise to see
don't
him?
know,
The
man.
legendary Vince Gill with the flippy phone.
I was at Vince Gill's house one day, and he was going to show me a video, and he got on the keyboard and he pecked around. It took him about 5 minutes to get the video up. So I'm not. I can't do. I can't if I'm on the computer.
Yeah.
I'm not real good like that. Like you guys. You younger guys can just flat do it, man.
Oh, I mean,
But
I love tech. I mean, I'm a techie junkie too.
well,
So
I want to
you know,
be. As you can see, this room is going to. That's my goal, is to turn this into a social media outlet. I want to be able to. I'm already doing. I do this live stream twice a month. Matter of fact, I could send you a link to it if I want.
sure.
For it's called Together. It's two. It's the number two.
Yep.
GTHR.co. And
Okay.
there's a bunch of guitarists like Oddly Freed from Sheryl Crow's band, David Grissom on there, Charlie Starr from Blackberry Smoke. A bunch of us do these live stream. It's a guitar site, and I'm already doing that out of here. But eventually, I'm going to turn this into a place to do more stuff, and that's my goal. I'm
Oh,
unlike
that's
you.
awesome.
I want to learn more about technical stuff. I mean,
Oh,
I love
absolutely.
radio, and I'm just rambling on here. So,
No, no, that's fine. Hey, I'm the same. Like I said, you and I are very similar. I mean, I used to have a big physical collection. I have more of a physical movie collection than I do music collection because I love films and everything. So,
let me
that's my big thing.
let me show you the prize of my life, though.
Oh wow,
This is my '58 Les Paul,
jeez.
affectionately known as Hank, and Joe Bonamassa named it Hank the Plank. And
Ah,
this was a gift from Hank Jr.
oh wow.
back in I don't know, early '90s. I've had it ever since, and it don't leave the house very much at all. So
I was gonna say, with Joe being the kind of the new king of blues, so to speak. I mean, I guess that's because he's been doing this for a
yeah.
while, and,
Oh,
and people,
Joe's.
a lot of people respect him, and I do too.
I do too. I respect Joe a lot. I love
You
Joe.
guys ever do anything together at all?
Yeah,
Any just
I've played with Joe 4 or 5 times. Yeah, I know
oh
Joe.
wow, lucky man you
We
are.
texted back and forth here a while back. He So are you guys working? I said, yeah, man, we're out working about every weekend. And I think he was just starting to gear back up. And I haven't seen Joe. Oh gosh, it's been 4 or 5 years.
Jeez.
Um, I haven't seen him in a long time, man. Unfortunately, but
I'm definitely a fan. That guy is so, as far as inspiration. If I was a musician, man, I tell you, other than you guys and a few other bands that I really like, I mean, yeah, I would. Joe definitely takes the cake, for sure.
he's great, man. There's a lot of good bands out there and artists. You just got to dig for them these
And
days.
then there's a lot of shitty bands out there too. Like just well, I
There's
think
some
they're
music
I think
I'll
they're
put it
better
this
than
way.
everybody.
There's
Yeah.
some stuff I don't quite understand, but I think every generation, I can't say there's a lot of modern stuff that don't really do it for me, but that don't mean it's bad, but
What I'm talking
there is,
about is,
but you're right. There is some music out there. I go,
but
I
there's
don't
also
really
some people some bands that don't care about their fans like they say they do. But they
Yeah,
wouldn't do
there's some
something like this with like what we're doing with me.
well,
You know?
there's some stuff out there that don't have no musicality whatsoever. I go, what is that?
Yeah.
I go, they tune down about 3 steps and I don't know, I don't, but
Yeah,
I it's not my thing, man. I mean,
that's right. That's
but I
right.
consider heavy metal. I don't even. Me and my son Eric were driving back from Glasgow earlier. We went to town to get us something at the coffee shop, and I heard a Black Sabbath doing Iron
Oh,
Man. Thought when I was in high school, I thought, yeah, man, that is heavy. Now it almost sounds like a country song. I think.
yeah. That's so overplayed, but it's like I mean,
Fire,
it
Iron
is a
Man.
hit song, so I guess and with the Iron Man films, I'm sure that was really went over.
Yeah, yeah,
But
man.
anyway, Greg, I appreciate your
God
time
bless you, man.
and thanks again for letting me do this. I really do appreciate it.
Hey, it's my pleasure, and thank you.